This is going to be a video on how to find good places to ride your snowmobile if you don't know where to ride it, or maybe looking for better places to ride. If you're a trail rider, this doesn't apply to you. This is mainly for backcountry, mountain sleds, people that think their race sled is a mountain sled, just any general backcountry riding, tree riding. We're going to be mainly looking at tree riding, but I'll show some other tips and to find spots that are a bit more open. I'm going to try my best not to give away any of my good riding spots here. I mean, I don't own the snow. You can kind of go ride wherever the fuck you want, within reason. But I will show you how I find them. You can be pretty lazy about it, just go ride the power lines, but if you're like me and you're maybe only riding once or twice a week, you kind of want to ride some good snow, and so it takes a little while to find some of the good snow and the good riding. So I'm going to show you the ways that I find it. First thing when it comes to finding places to ride is you want to make sure that it's legal for you to ride there. Depending on what province or state you're in or what country, you may be dealing with lots of private land or public land. Where I'm from, it's called Crown Land, and with Crown Land you can find maps online that show where it is and where it's not. You don't want to be the guy that's riding in someone's backyard, somewhere that's owned as maybe a nature preserve, or maybe you'll come across a ski club. You don't want to be the guy that gets a bad name for snowmobilers. So before you look at an area for riding, make sure it's legal. So starting off, we're going to be using Google Earth. There's a couple ways to go around this. Onyx Off-Road is a really good one. I'm a big fan of Onyx Off-Road. The problem with that is it is a subscription for like $40 a year, which isn't terrible. I use it in the summer. I don't mind the subscription as much as subscriptions drive me absolutely bonkers. But I think it's one of those worthwhile subscriptions, especially if you use it for hunting, fishing, or whatever in the summer. One thing too with using Onyx right now is I have all of my secret, super special hiding and riding spots up there. So we're going to use Google Earth because it's free. The big thing is you want satellite. Unfortunately, I don't think you're going to go well if you just use a simple map like Google Maps. One reason I like Google Earth is it has this historical imagery feature. So some spots, they may not be the most updated. The default satellite view for an area may be 4 or 5 years old because it's most clear. However, maybe 3 years ago, there was a shot of that area that is more recent. However, cloud cover is not great, but at least give you a much more accurate idea of what the area is going to look like. When that original shot was taken, it wasn't as overgrown, and now it is. That is one thing that you have to be careful of. Is with tree riding, spots will get overgrown as time goes on, and you end up losing those spots to overgrowth. But in this video, you're going to find more, or you're going to learn how to pay attention to the good spots that aren't going to have that problem. So starting off, I'm going to go to an area where I plan on riding this weekend. Anyone who is familiar with tree riding in the area that I'm in may already know this area. Starting off, you want to make sure you can park. For example, here, it looks like you're going to have good parking. There's a big open spot right here. However, this is a logging road. So if it isn't actively being logged, there's a good chance it's not going to be plowed. And so it's one thing to be careful of, because you may drive 3 hours, 4 hours to come ride this area, and you can't even get off the highway because it's just a not plowed in road. I've driven this highway enough, and I've seen how far it's plowed in. I know that for a fact that I will have parking right here. Sometimes it's worth talking to people that are in the area, or maybe looking for areas that maybe have better parking. I do know that this area is going to be good for the kind of tree riding I'm looking for. So I'm looking for stuff like this. So this would be what looks like a sand pit. Either it's going to be a hill or maybe a valley. It's right next to the truck, so when you're nice and cold in the morning, you're a little stiff, it's good to kind of play around in there, get a feel for the sled. Maybe we'll play around in here. It looks pretty flat, might not be too much, but to warm up. Now, we're going to go to the historical imagery, and you can tell right now how this changes. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get a shot in the winter that'll maybe show what it looks like with and without cloud cover, or without snow cover. Or you get just old stuff that, I mean, I don't read. That's really useful. 1985 right there. At least good to know that logging road was still there that back then. Now, one of the more cool reasons to use Google Earth is that you can get a little vertical and use 3D mode. This is going to show me what elevation to expect in these areas. This is where I can show that this isn't more of a pit. It's going to be a bit more of a hill. You can use elevation lines in these programs as well, but I'd much rather use the just going 3D. That way you get a much better visual feel. As I'm going up this road, trying to see if there's anything that looks like it might be good. I've ridden here before, so I know that some of it is good. I'm looking for stuff like this that looks like it might be maybe a logging trail of some sorts, a skidder rut. Alright, so this is the spot that showed here on satellite view. It was a couple kilometers up the trail. Guy in front of me decided to stop at it, so I figured that we all should. Now from the trail, it looks like some pretty good spacing still, and I don't see a whole lot of overgrowth or new growth sticking through the floor. So still those smaller trees, not really much damage. They'll scratch your sled, but that's really about it. And here you're going to start to see some of my very poor line choice. I was trying not to get caught in his tracks, and he's a much better rider than I am, so I wasn't going to try and do anything he could do. Here you're going to see those big skidder ruts. This is what they look like in the snow. A little sketchy to ride. Now this is the absolutely terrible line choice. Yeah. You can watch this. Now this is a little bit farther up the cut. It seems pretty good. Like the elevation change is decent. There's a couple drainages to ride through. Drainages are nice because you can kind of side hill these sections here without too much risk. You can always just point your nose down. It was much deeper than I thought, so I just kind of elevated my way down. It's a shame that the footage doesn't look as steep as it actually was on camera, because that's usually how that works. You gotta be careful with these drainages, though. There can be some real sketchy stuff in there. Here's that new growth. We call them tag holders. I guess is the proper term, tag holders. But it's annoying. They hit your face. You gotta do this if you're side hilling. Sometimes they're stronger than you think. Just going up here, trying to look for more open spots of trees. This looks like a hardwood forest. You want to be kind of pay attention to the kind of trees that are in the area you're riding to. That'll kind of tell you what kind of tree spacing you're going to be working with too. The thing with tree riding is it can either be good or bad based on how close the trees together. If they're too far apart, it's not really that fun, and you just kind of end up riding through a big open field. If it's too tight, you just kind of hit them. It's too hard. You get stuck a lot, and it's not really that fun of a time. Kind of looking around this area. This might be something fun. It looks like kind of might have been a log landing area for when they logged this area and they were loading logs out. It might be a little open area. If you're in an area where there is lots of snow, it could be fun just to play around for a couple minutes to warm yourself up. Now this is the stuff that I'm starting to really pay attention to. You can kind of, it looks like the tree spacing. You can see the leaves of the trees are a little bit farther apart. You can see they don't look as close together. So it might have been that they were doing a clear cut, more of a selective cut when it was logged. So pull up the old historical imagery and see what things look like. See, that's what exactly. Sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll have stuff like this. So this was shot in the fall. Looking at a time when the leaves are down, as you can see, and you can tell these lines. These lines are either going to be trees on the ground, which is one thing to be careful of, or if you can see along here, those are big ruts. So that'll be when the trees were cut down and the skidder was taking them down from the hill. to where a forwarder that would then bring them to landing, they would be going along here, which means that this was an area that was actively logged. When you're able to find an area that has a fall picture like this with the leaves out, you can see there's still evergreen trees and that around here, which they're evergreen trees. They're called that because they're green forever. Fun fact. What I can tell from here is there's going to be lines going up the hill. This is actually a pretty good example of an area that is going to be good for riding. Exactly the things to be looking for when it comes to tree riding. You want an old logging cut, but you don't want something too old, because you will run into the issue of that new growth coming in, and that's not really that fun. When those 4 to 5 year old trees, you just kind of end up, you're either hitting them or they're hitting your eye. It's a whole big problem. Once you find these areas, you can place a mark here. Some of these programs let you download these maps online, or you can get the coordinates for when you go in. Alright, now this is the spot that we actually did not look at all on satellite. We were on our way to go there, and we ended up finding this. It ended up being a lot more appealing, as much as it doesn't look like it from here. We had a race out with us that was stuck from those things, so... This spot was not the greatest. The trees were a little too tight, a little more technical than I really wanted to. This slope also wasn't that steep. Stuff like this, you gotta really pick your line. Things can get pretty wild if you don't. My main priority was, once I got up here, was getting down. I didn't really like the way it was looking. There was probably another couple square kilometers of stuff like this we didn't even bother touching, just because we had so many issues on the way in. And it's nice. We found a spot that didn't even look like it was going to be good, and it leaves that other spot open for another day. This is the more better spot, I would think. Kind of snow we were dealing with. That's 153. That's pretty stuck. Fucking did her good. And another kind of feature to look around, these are more the drainages. I'm trying to follow them down as much as it cannot be the best idea. You gotta think more proactively about your exit lines or stuff like this. Especially because I was alone and no one saw me going through snow. But I had an idea of where I could go, where I couldn't go, any more shallow stuff as a backup. That drainage on the right there looks like I just a lot of rock nonsense. So I tried to side hill my way out of here and ran out of talent. So I could have reversed out and tried, but I kind of trenched my way up here. I figured it's not that hard to kind of roll it down the hill. You'd be surprised at how easy it is to roll a sled down the hill. Need a minute to catch my breath after something like that. Anyways, yeah. Try not to put yourself in this position. I got lucky I could turn the ski to get around the tree, but yeah, it can also put you in a bad position. After that, my main priority was getting the fuck out of there. Hit and wiggle, get you pretty far some days. And yeah, so that's how to find some of these good riding spots in this area. And we'll end the video with me hitting this tree. Next week will be more of me hitting trees.